What does it take to have long-term success? And as a result, to gain a high level of mastery in all that you do. And it really doesn't matter whether you're talking professionally, in your work, in your spiritual practice, in your personal life for self-improvement, personal development. There are 4 keys, or shall I say a framework of the 4 C's that I've come to identify, and I want to share them with you now and teach you. These are the 4 C's to gain high level of mastery, continued success, again for the long haul. It begins with number 1, competence. The big C, competence. It's not enough to just sit back and wish it, hope it, pray for it, meditate on it. It's important that, yes, those help. Of course they do. In fact, as you know, in my work, I'm the Silva Method lead instructor, the training director, doing this for a little over 52 years. And we know the importance of value of creative visualization, of mentally rehearsing, while in a deep meditative, relaxed state, our goals, our aspirations. It's also just as important to have competence. And that means you may need more training, you may need more study, you may need to do some research, you may need to ask for help, you may need to model some excellence. It's not just going to come magically, and of course you know this. And part of competence has to do with having the courage to show up, to do what it takes. And even maybe starting with little baby steps. And I know you've heard that before. What will happen though is, as you achieve a degree of success, that will give you confidence. And that confidence will give you more courage. And with that courage, you'll be willing to take more risk, to explore more, to expand out, to scale up. And some have called it the confidence-competence loop. And that means as you develop more competence, as you develop more skills, more expertise, it gives you more confidence to do more, to build out, to expand, to take more risk. The second C of the 4 C's that we're looking at here would be having contribution, meaning a service mindset. The surest way to have more is to first appreciate what you have. In these recent years, it's been suggested that we should lead with generosity. Start with service, start with giving, be generous in all you do. And that is easier said than done, because sometimes we get stuck in what? Survival mode, scarcity consciousness, and we're afraid we wouldn't have enough, or we're afraid we're going to lose it all. These kinds of fears get in the way, and they don't help. Some people confuse, I've observed this, that some people confuse passion with obsession. And they're so obsessed, they're constantly thinking, worrying. Because whatever you give attention to, you give energy to. And whatever you give energy to will grow and multiply. So if we're constantly worried, thinking, reflecting, ruminating on our success, that can create an obsessive energy. And the risk is that it's coming from scarcity consciousness, back brain stuff, primitive brain, stress mode, and we're less likely to gain access to our intuition to guide us, inner wisdom. We're less likely to access our higher thinking functions of the brain. So by leading with generosity, having a service mindset, it helps us to excel and to attract those who need what we have to offer. And it really doesn't matter. It's about having a sense of purpose, a sense of mission in what you're doing, to be driven by your purpose. Some call it a purpose-driven life. And you might be a bus driver, you might be an Uber driver, you might be on a waitstaff in a restaurant, you might be a salesperson, you might be a parent, you might be a good friend, you might be a doctor, physician, a therapist, a coach. All this is necessary. It's part of civilization. We all contribute somehow, some way to make life just a little bit better for the community, for everybody who's involved. And it's important that each of us look at that and recognize that what we do, what's our unique contribution to the community, to the world, to our family, to our friends, to the work that we do. I often tell a story of a Silva Method graduate who's trained with me from the Chicago area. And she's a bus driver. I don't know what you feel, but could you imagine driving a bus in downtown Chicago, in New York City, in Dallas? She loves it. I said, really? I know I wouldn't. She said, no, I love it. These people need me. These people, I've got to get them safely to and fro from one end of town to the other end of town. And they're on a schedule. So you see, we're more deeply moved with our own individual message, our own sense of mission. And when we have that, the saying goes, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. You'll tolerate more. And I don't mean that we should put up with, crap or negativity or toxic situations. No, of course not. But meaning, everything we do, there are aspects of it that may not be so much fun, that maybe we're not as good at. But they're necessary for the big picture. So keep in mind your big why you do. The third big C in this framework of the 4 keys to your success for the long haul would be community. Managing your time and your exposure, having a community of people, friends, mentors, coaches, colleagues, people who inspire you, people who've got your back, people who you can count on to be there in the good times and the bad times. I have found in my life, I just turned 72, and I found in my life that there are some people, colleagues, friends, or people I'm just friendly with, who only show up when you're rolling, when you're rocking it, when you're successful, when you're getting all this attention. And you come to realize they want something from you. And then there are people I've had in my life who are there in the good times, the best of times. How about you? Can you relate? We become just like the people we spend most of our time with. You've heard that before, I'm sure, many times. Well, I know that sometimes with family, we're not always to choose our family, but we can choose the time and the amount of time we spend, even with family, with friends, in a way. So be careful about that. Make sure that you grow your own community of family, friends, colleagues, co-workers, people who you can count on, who will encourage you and will say, yes, you can do this, who will listen to you with an open mind and not put you down, not talk in a condescending way. This is a whole topic in itself, isn't it? Because too many people find themselves working in a toxic environment. Too many people, I've coached many of these people, mentored them, even as Silva graduates, are in a relationship that's become toxic. And for a lot of reasons, it's very challenging to get out of that. So the third one, community, very important. Your exposure, have a community of support. And fourth and not last of the big C's, certainly as important as the others, command. Take command of your life. Take control of your life. It's your life after all. For example, own your day, own your morning. And you have a calendar, you have a schedule, you've blocked out time, which is a good idea, always to block out time. You set a schedule, you have people counting on you, clients, family, friends. And yet there'll always be somebody who will show up with an emergency. And some people have that knack that they always, have an emergency. I feel for them, I care. But it's important, isn't it, that we take command of our lives, own our own time, and manage it. So I know that for myself, there are people, fellow instructors, as the training director, when I'm going through a training process and I give them an extra 6 months of mentoring, I prioritize my time with them. And if they reach out to me, I move things on my schedule to, as soon as possible, help them out, work with them. Same thing with mentor clients. And if somebody shows up at the last minute, I may have to say, gee, I'm sorry that you got this emergency, but I've scheduled this, it's all blocked out, and I'm not able to move it. Stop trying to be a people pleaser. Sometimes you just have to say, no, I don't have the bandwidth. I'm not able to help you at this time. But in a couple of weeks or in a month or whatever the time frame may be, please get back to me and I'll be happy to help. Part of taking command of our lives is to respond to the challenges, to crises, to the difficulties, to the negativity, the hot mess out there, and not react. And that's really an inside game. You cannot intellectualize it. One of the challenges I've had that I've recognized over the time is some people get to the point where they, you know the type, they feel like they know it all and there's nothing more they could learn. Even after 52 years plus of being a serious student, a practitioner in the field of personal development, training intuition, as we do with the Silva Method, and as a teacher, I feel like there's so much more to learn. Having a growth mindset will contribute to taking command because there's always something more. It contributes to your competence levels too. Always recognizing that there's something more to learn. And maybe sometimes you're in a situation or at an event and you may only learn a little bit, but if you can take away something that helps you to enhance what you know, that builds more competence. Cannot say enough of that, because when we intellectualize, and you're a meditator, we know, we've come to realize in the Silva Method that the quickest way to learn is to get into a super learning state, a state of mind and body where we are highly suggestible and we learn faster. And now even science has come to recognize and identify that it's associated with these lower brainwave functions that are typical of sleep, like alpha, the green on the chart here, and theta levels. And that's what we do in the Silva Method. All of our training for the 4 days is learning how to access this beautiful, healing, boost your immune system, feel good all over, meditative state, and also be active mentally, to creatively visualize, to mentally rehearse. And that's why we call it dynamic meditation. That's how you take command of your life, by taking a look and assessing where you're at and where you need help, what needs to grow. And if you're in stress mode, worry mode, then you run the risk of the body getting flooded with the stress hormones like cortisol and others, just to name one. And when that happens, we go into scarcity consciousness and we become reactive. And you can tell if you're in reactive mode if you're worrying excessively, having difficulty sleeping, having difficulty getting back to sleep, waking up all during the night. And if you find yourself being excessively defensive and jumping at things, quick to anger, that's reactive mode. And some of the worst decisions we fellow human beings have made is when we react rather than step back, observe what's going on, assess the situation, and then respond. In our coaching practice, we call that or before you roar. Observe what's going on, get the facts, then assess the situation, how it relates to you, what's your skill level, what can you handle or not handle, and then respond. So a good question you can use to take command, because we all experience life events, challenges, crises, difficulties. Nobody's free of that. And when we do, I've used this question for decades and it's helped me through so much adversity. What can I learn from this? Before you reject it or try to change it, what can I learn from this? Does this mean anything to me? And how can I turn it around? So I hope this is helping you. My name is Ken Coscia. I serve as the lead trainer for the Silva Method, the training director. And people know me that here I am going into my 53rd year doing this work. And when I look back at these 4 C's, competence, contribution, community, command, I realize that's how I've been living my life since 1971. And it's how I've sustained longevity and continued. And in fact, I find I feel so blessed and fortunate that in my senior years, I'm succeeding more, reaching out to more people than ever before, and getting much more feedback from, more importantly, from my participants than ever before. Because I'm always looking to how to build more competence, how to learn more, how to grow, how to fine-tune my skills. I'm looking at how I can be more generous, how I can contribute more, add more value to the people who are following my work, who are studying with me. Building a sense of community with fellow instructors, where we're open source, helping each other, looking at how we can mastermind to succeed more, looking to learn from other people, attending other events. And I meditate every day, 2-3 times a day, and have been since 1971. And I don't know that I'm the smartest person in town, but I do know that I'm consistent. And you want to add that, it's another C if you want to have a fifth C. Show up and be consistent. So thank you for watching. I look forward to meeting you one day.